Undercover CEO discovered a security guard studying by flashlight the heartwarming moment that will change everything. In the heart of the city, amid the pulse of late-night traffic and bright neon signs, sat a small, cramped security office. Jack, a 34-year-old security guard, was hunched over a battered textbook, the faint flickering light of his flashlight dancing across the pages. Outside, sirens wailed and car horns blared, but in his little corner of the world, Jack was fighting a different battle. Each line he read was a step toward a better future for his two young children, Ethan and Mia. As he turned the pages, his heart raced not from the darkness around him, but from the hope that he could build a life where they could thrive, free from the financial struggles that shackled him. His mind wandered to Ethan and Mia, their laughter echoing in his ears. He could almost picture them, eagerly awaiting his return home, eyes bright with curiosity as they asked about his day. "Dad, did you catch any bad guys?" They'd giggle, their innocent smiles reigniting the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Jack's resolve solidified. He was doing this for them, for their dreams, and for the chance at something greater. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and in walked Samantha, the enigmatic CEO. Disguised in a simple hoodie and jeans, she blended in, a ghost among the bustling city life. Her intention? To feel the pulse of the community her corporation often overlooked. But as she looked around, her eyes fell upon Jack. There he was, a silhouette of determination etched against the hard glow of his flashlight, embodying a story that hit closer to home than she anticipated. Her heart fluttered with empathy. She saw more than just a security guard, she saw a father's relentless fight against odds heavier than any steel door he kept watch over. "What are you studying?" she asked softly, breaking the thin veil of night. Jack looked up, surprise dancing in his eyes before he quickly masked it with his usual stoic demeanor. "It's a GED prep," he admitted. The words hung in the air, filled with the weight of dreams unfulfilled and futures uncharted. That moment ignited something within Samantha. Jack's raw commitment, the way he spoke of his children with a passion that reminded her of her own childhood struggles, laid bare the stark contrast between their lives. She felt the compelling urge to help. "Have you thought about corporate training? I could help you get your foot in the door," she offered, genuinely, but the offer fell flat against the reality of Jack's world. His eyes darkened. "Look, that might sound nice, but that's not what I need. I need a real shot, not just a handout." Tension crackled in the small room. Samantha's heart raced as she realized that her privilege had cast a long shadow over her intentions. In her desire to help, she'd unwittingly overlooked the grit and grind that defined Jack's reality. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now, let us continue. In that moment, something shifted between them. Jack's heartbreak was palpable, and as he spoke of the sacrifices he made for Ethan and Mia, tears welled in his eyes, turning his fierce resolve into something deeper. It wasn't just a struggle, it was a conversation about dignity and respect, about being heard. Samantha's breath hitched. This was not simply about education. It was about the very fabric of society, the dreams of the many woven together by threads of pain and perseverance. With their worlds colliding, the air thick with possibility, Jack realized he was not just fighting for himself or his children, but for the quiet voices like his own. Could they rally together for change? Would they find a way to lift others from the shadows of inequality? As the night deepened, leaving them surrounded by flickering lights and unanswered questions, Jack and Samantha exchanged glances that echoed commitment and hope. They stood at the edge of a daunting journey, one that could finally bridge the chasm between their lives. Would they rise together to ignite a spark of change in their community, or would the heavy shadows of their past snuff out their dreams? The question lingered, leaving them both hungry for resolution as dawn approached. Jack's heart raced as he sat opposite Samantha, the weight of their world seeming to press in on him. Between the tick of the clock and the rustling pages of his book, an unspoken bond began to weave through the air, a thread of understanding. Samantha, feeling the shift, took a tentative step closer. What if we started a mentorship program? Something that empowers folks like you to gain skills, real skills, and opportunities? Jack shook his head, a determined glint in his eye. You don't get it. This isn't about uplifting me alone. It's about changing the system. I can't be the only one. There are hundreds of guards and workers just like me. We need real change, not just programs that look good on paper. His voice trembled, raw with passion. Samantha's heart ached at the depth of his struggle. I want to help, but I need to understand more. Teach me. What do you think will make a real difference? Taken aback, Jack hesitated. He had grown accustomed to keeping his frustrations bottled up, to the silent acceptance of his fate. But her genuine concern was disarming, stirring an urge to share his vision. Passion alone isn't enough. We need resources. We need funding for training programs that aren't just accessible but effective, he started, his thoughts flowing more easily now. We need businesses that want to invest in the people who keep their buildings safe. And more than anything, we need to feel like we matter. The sweat on his brow glistened as he spoke. With every word, the spark of hope began to flicker brighter in the dim office. Samantha scribbled notes, the words pouring out of Jack's mouth igniting something within her, a fire she had long neglected since taking the corporate reins. So, you want a seat at the table? She probed, leaning in, eager. Jack's gaze hardened, fierce yet vulnerable. Not just me. All of us. We need to reshape what leadership looks like. It shouldn't just be about numbers and profits. It should be about people. Samantha's mind raced. What if I help rally a community meeting? We can invite everyone, other security guards, associates, changemakers. Let us hear their voices. A flicker of doubt crossed Jack's face. And what if nothing changes? What if it's just another empty promise? Before she could respond, a sudden commotion in the parking lot jolted their conversation. Jack's instincts kicked in, and he shot to his feet. I need to check it out. Samantha followed him outside, her heart thumping in her chest as they both stepped into the cool night air. A small group of co-workers and other security personnel had gathered, a few of them looking visibly uneasy. Darn rookies, one of his colleagues muttered. They saw something suspicious, but they're all jittery. Jack pushed through the crowd, the tension palpable. What is going on? It looks like someone's been stealing packages from cars, another guard explained, his voice low. Everyone's scared. Jack exchanged glances with Samantha. A wave of understanding flowed between them. This was a moment where he could act, a chance for him to step up and lead his fellow guards through the unease. Let us organize ourselves, Jack said, a sense of purpose washing over him. We can handle this together. We need to show that we're not just guardians of the night but leaders in our own right. As they formed a plan, Samantha watched with admiration. A spark had ignited in him, something that had been dormant for far too long. Is this the moment everything could change? Just then, a voice from the back shouted, this isn't how it should be. We shouldn't be afraid working the night shift. The tension cracked like a whip in the air. Jack's mind raced with new possibilities. Perhaps this was the moment they needed to rally together. Would their voices, unified, be enough to spark the change they all sought? As Jack looked out at his colleagues, the dawn was creeping over the horizon, a fresh start awaiting on the other side. But as the shadows of uncertainty loomed, one question lingered: could courage truly rise from the depths of fear? Jack stood tall, the murmurs of agreement rippling through the crowd like a wave. The dim light from the street lamps flickered, casting elongated shadows that danced around them. In this moment of collective fear, hope began to bloom like flowers breaking through winter's frost. Listen, he called out, his voice steady. I know all of us are scared, and that's okay. But fear can't be our guide. We can either let it paralyze us or let it push us to act. The energy crackled in the air, his words reaching deep into the hearts of his fellow guards. A young guard named Emily, her face shadowed with anxiety, stepped forward. What can we do? We're just security guards. What power do we have? Samantha could feel the doubt hanging heavy, but Jack's resolve didn't waver. We have more power than we think. We control how we work together. We can set up watch teams, alert the authorities, and make sure everyone feels safe on this shift. And more importantly, we can bring the message to anyone who needs to hear it. We need to stand united. For a moment, silence enveloped them, the weight of Jack's words hanging in the air. Then, one by one, faces started to change. The unease transformed into determination, as nods and murmurs of agreement spread like wildfire. Let us gather everyone who's working tonight and spread out. We can corner the lot and keep an eye out for anyone acting suspicious, added Raj, another guard, his eyes fierce with newfound courage. Exactly. Jack exclaimed. And if we spot anything, we'll call it in. But most importantly, we cannot allow fear to dictate our night. We have to reclaim our space. Samantha watched, heart swelling. The passion Jack exuded ignited a fire in her too. She stepped closer, a renewed sense of purpose lighting her up. While you all handle the situation, I'll start organizing our community meeting. We'll need to gather more voices, make sure everyone knows they can stand up and speak out. In that moment, she felt the shift within herself. No longer just a corporate figure, she became part of something bigger, a movement that encompassed not just a few individuals but an entire community standing together. The crowd began to disperse into their assigned roles, their determination palpable. Jack shared quick instructions, walking beside Emily as they scouted the area. You're going to be a great leader someday, you know that? He said, glancing at her. She smiled nervously. Leading doesn't feel easy, but I guess we're all trying to be a part of something that matters. As they continued to survey the parking lot, Jack felt an unusual warmth creeping into his chest, a flicker of belief breaking through his earlier skepticism. This was not just about the stolen packages, it was a newfound camaraderie among people who understood each other's struggles. Their patrol brought them near the edge of duty's territories, connecting distant thoughts. Samantha's right, Jack thought. It's about standing together, but it's also about creating that system of support. Suddenly, from behind a nearby car, a figure darted out, clutching a package. Jack's heart raced as adrenaline surged. Hey! He shouted, instincts kicking in. The figure froze, eyes wide. Everyone turned, the mood shifting again, fear coursing through the guards. Jack took a deep breath, steeling himself. This was a defining moment. Would they respond with strength or retreat once more into the shadows? Don't panic, he called, voice ringing clear. We're just here to talk. Let us figure this out together. Who was this thief? What led them there? Was this all part of a greater issue? As questions flooded his mind, he stepped forward, his hand raised in a non-threatening gesture. Would this stranger reveal another layer to the struggles they were all facing? What else lay hidden beneath the surface? Jack could feel the intensity building, waiting for the unfolding of a new reality. The figure stood motionless for a moment, the package held tightly to their chest. Shadows danced across their features, obscuring both fear and desperation. Jack could feel the collective breath of the guards around him, anticipation coursing through the group like an electric current. Please, just listen to us, he urged, taking another cautious step closer. His heart beat loudly in his chest, a rhythm of hope and fear intermingling. We want to understand. Why are you taking this? The figure shifted, glancing from Jack to the other guards. They were young, maybe in their early 20s, dressed in torn jeans and a worn-out hoodie. You wouldn't understand, the voice trembled, laced with emotion. It was a mixture of anger and sadness, a reflection of the struggle just beneath the surface. You all have jobs, lives. I don't have anything. Emily, standing close to Jack, stepped forward. What if you had help? We're all going through tough times. We want to find a way to support each other. The thief's eyes narrowed, expression wavering. Help? From you? They seemed to be weighing the sincerity of her words, searching for some glimmer of reality. Yeah, Raj interjected, trying to ease the tension. We work together. This isn't just about packages. There is something happening in our community and people are suffering. Let us share our resources to lift each other up instead of tearing each other down. A flicker of vulnerability crossed the thief's face. For just a moment, the fierce facade cracked. Jack watched, sensing a shift in the air. What do you want? Came the question, quieter now, curious and faintly hopeful. What I want, Jack said, is for you to tell us what is going on. If we understand your struggles, we can all find a solution together. He gestured to the bricks around them. This isn't just a parking lot, it's a community. The thief hesitated, glancing around at the guards, their expressions a mixture of empathy and understanding. The tension hung thick, pulsating with potential. I just needed food for my little brother, they finally admitted, voice breaking. Things have been rough. Gasps rippled through the guards. This revelation pierced their hearts. Here, right in front of them, was a living testament to the desperation that their community was grappling with. Jack took another step forward, tone firm yet sympathetic. If you needed help, all you had to do was ask. We have resources. We can help you. It was a gamble, opening the door to vulnerability. He felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, but he also sensed the potential for healing. Tears glistened in the thief's eyes, vulnerability surfacing. You'd really help? Yes, Jack affirmed, his voice steady. But you have to be willing to trust. The atmosphere shifted again, the fear leading to an unexpected camaraderie. The guards exchanged glances, their collective spirit beginning to transform, understanding dawning on them. They could be more than security, they could become guardians of their community, forging connections where there had been only division. The thief took a deep breath, eyes darting among the group. I don't know how to trust. The words hung in the chilly night air. Samantha, standing at the periphery, watched the scene unfold with awe. She felt a swell of optimism. Let us find a place to talk, she suggested gently. We can work something out. No judgments, only support. As the group reconsidered, Jack felt the weight of the moment settle in. They weren't just standing up for themselves anymore, they were beginning to stand for others, crafting a foundation to change lives. But just as the conversation took a more hopeful turn, the distant sound of sirens pierced the stillness, growing louder and closer. Jack's insides twisted with anxiety. We need to move. They can't see us here together. Not yet. Panic took a step back, replaced with a latent determination to protect this newfound thread of connection. Would they find safety in the chaos? The thief looked between the guards and the approaching sirens, uncertainty clouding their eyes. Jack felt the thrum of urgency. How far would they go to protect not just themselves, but the very foundation of understanding they were starting to build? The sirens grew louder, echoing through the concrete jungle, cutting through the fragile bond that had started to form. The guards glanced at one another, uncertainty dancing in their eyes. Jack took a step closer to the thief, heart racing, a desperate urge to help pulling him forward. Listen, Jack said, his voice barely above a whisper. We can't talk here. You have to trust us. If you stay, you might find yourself in more trouble. He felt time slipping through his fingers. If they didn't act, this moment of connection would disintegrate. The thief, still clutching the package tightly, darted their gaze around, fear mingling with a flicker of hope. Where will we go? Their voice was barely audible, tinged with vulnerability. Follow us, Emily urged, instinctively stepping into the role of leader. We know a place. Just trust us. We can help you and your brother. With that, the group moved quickly, hearts pounding in unison. They barely registered the cold air biting at their skin as they slipped into the shadows of an alleyway, just as the police cars screamed past, blue lights flashing like the heartbeats of anxious souls. Jack stayed close to the thief, breathing in the stench of gasoline and distant hopes. "You're safe with us," he reassured, keeping his tone steady and calm. "Once we're out of sight, you can tell us everything." They reached an old community center, an unassuming brick building that had seen better days. Broken windows and peeling paint whispered of neglect, but in the heart of it, Jack sensed potential, a sanctuary for those who had been cast aside. Inside, the air felt warmer, a pocket of safety. Samantha pulled out a few blankets from the back room, her quick hands working with purpose. "Here. It's not much, but it'll help. Please, sit down," she said, motioning the thief toward a dilapidated couch that leaned heavily to one side. The thief hesitated, glancing at the group as if searching for a reason to run. Jack took a seat on the edge of the couch, keeping his expression open and inviting. "Can we talk now?" he asked gently. The thief nodded slowly, drawing a shaky breath. "I never meant to steal," they confessed, voice quaking. I was desperate. My little brother, he's sick, and food has been hard to come by." Emily reached out, her hand resting on the thief's knee. "You don't have to go through this alone." The sincerity in her voice wrapped around them, softening the harsh edges of fear. Jack looked at the thief's pained face, the dark shadows under their eyes telling a story of sleepless nights and relentless worry. "Why didn't you come to us before?" he asked, not to judge, but to understand. I didn't think anyone would care. I thought you all just saw me as a nuisance, like everyone else," came the response, each word laced with regret. A heavy silence enveloped the room. Jack felt the weight of their shared humanity pressing on his chest. "We do care," he finally said. "Everyone deserves help. No one should have to go hungry or feel alone." The thief's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "What can we do? I don't want to steal again. I just want to take care of my brother. Let us work together. We can reach out to local charities, or even set up food drives right here," Raj chimed in, catching the spark of a solution. "There are people out there who want to help." Just as hope began to settle in, the mysterious crackle of activity outside caught their attention. Jack's heart sank as he turned toward the window, the illumination from flashlights piercing the dark. "They're back," he murmured, dread creeping into his chest. "The police," the thief's whisper trailed off, panic threading their voice again. Samantha shot Jack a worried look. "What do we do now?" Jack braced himself, torn between the instinct to shield them and the need for transparency in their newfound partnership. "We stand together," he said firmly, summoning the courage thrumming within him. "Let us see what they really want." As the muffled footsteps approached, uncertainty rallied in the air. Would they truly accept the truth they'd just begun to uncover? Or would fear unravel all they had started to build? Jack felt the tension in the room thicken like fog as he looked at the door. The group huddled together, a mix of anxiety and anticipation hanging between them. His mind raced, weighing their options. Could they hide? Should they confront the police? The unknown wrapped around them, an invisible barrier that felt almost suffocating. The footsteps drew closer, crunching on debris outside. The thief's breathing became erratic, a sharp contrast to the steady rhythm of Jack's heart. He felt an overwhelming need to protect this fragile new alliance, the bonds forming amidst shared struggles. "Okay, plan," Emily said, her voice cutting through the silence. "We need to look like we belong here. If they come in, we all rise together. No one gets left behind." There was conviction in her words, drawing strength from the core of their shared fears. Samantha nodded. "Let us all act natural. Stay calm." She held the thief's gaze, offering reassurance. "You're part of this now." Just as Jack let out a breath he didn't know he was holding, the door creaked open. A beam of light sliced through the dimness. A figure filled the threshold, tall, authoritative, and wearing a uniform. The beam from the flashlight scanned the room, illuminating faded posters on the walls and the dilapidated couch with the group's anxious faces tucked away in the corners. "Anyone here?" The officer called, voice booming against the brick walls. "This is the police. We have reports of suspicious activity. Step forward if you're present." Every heart stuttered. Jack locked eyes with the thief, and he could see the fear swallowing them whole. "Stay calm, we're in this together," he mouthed silently. We're just hanging out," Raj said, stepping slightly forward, forcing himself to keep his voice steady, despite the turmoil lurking behind his casual tone. The officer continued scanning the room, eyes narrowed, searching for any signs of deceit. "You all look a little worn out. Everything okay here?" Jack saw the thief shift uncomfortably. "We're just trying to stay warm," they managed to say, their voice barely above a whisper but holding a hint of strength. The officer seemed to consider the response. Jack could feel the air change, a tension dissipating as they waited for the officer's next move. But then, a questioning look crossed the man's face, something like recognition flickering in his eyes. "I've seen you around," he said, directing his flashlight toward the thief. "Are you okay? We got reports of some trouble." Heat flared in Jack's chest. He wanted to shout that trouble came in many forms, but instead, he took a deep breath. The thief opened their mouth, and Jack feared they might sink under the pressure of the moment. "Yes. I'm okay," the thief finally stammered. Just looking out for my brother. I'm trying to do right by him." That honesty hung in the air, something raw and real, vibrating in their shared silence. Jack felt a pulse of solidarity surge through him. It felt like more than just words, it was a lifeline thrown in turbulent waters. "Kids," the officer said, softening slightly. "The streets aren't safe at this hour. Are you sure you're all right?" Before anyone could respond, the sound of more footsteps echoed outside. Jack's stomach dropped. "More officers," he whispered urgently. "We need to make a move," Emily insisted, glancing around for the nearest exit. "Now." Jack, heart racing, knew they couldn't stay trapped in here, pretending everything was okay when the truth was staring them down. "Okay, here's the deal. We need to get to the back exit. Hold together, and no one speaks until we're sure it's clear," he said decisively. As they made their way to the back of the community center, each of them felt the anxiety mix with determination. Jack caught the thief's eye one last time, willing them to believe in the strength of their newfound family. What lay ahead was uncertain, and the road was far from smooth. But that fear wouldn't break them, not now. As they reached the door, Jack felt a rush of adrenaline. Would they escape? Would they find help? Or would they face the consequences of their choices together? "On 3, he whispered, counting down. And with that, the door creaked open, revealing the night. And in that moment, everything felt like it was about to change again. Jack's heart raced as he pushed open the door, ready to charge into the night that felt both liberating and perilous. The cool breeze slapped against his face, grounding him for a moment. But there was no time to relish the fresh air. He motioned for everyone to follow him quickly, the weight of their situation pressing on their shoulders. The alley was dimly lit, shadows swimming across the walls as they moved together, a trembling unit drawn tight by tension. Each one of them was hyper-aware of the noise, a distant siren, the chatter of a couple nearby, the faint crunch of gravel underfoot. The world felt amplified in these crucial moments, every sound ringing out like a warning bell. "Now what?" Emily whispered, pulling Jack out of his thoughts. "Let's south head toward the park. It's safer there." Jack kept his voice low, focused. There was a flicker of doubt behind his eyes, one he didn't want to share with his companions, but the instinct to keep them safe overshadowed any fear he had for himself. The thief hung back slightly, uncertainty etched on their face. Jack felt a tug at his heartstrings. These weren't just stray kids, they were family now, bonded by their struggles. "You're okay," he reassured them. "We're going to make it through this." They nodded, though the flicker of doubt still lingered, and it echoed in Jack's own mind. He acknowledged it but pushed it aside, no room for fear now. As they rounded the corner, the sounds of the night shifted. The nearby street lamp flickered, casting an eerie glow. Emily's hand found Jack's, squeezing it gently. Her gesture spoke volumes. Solidarity amidst chaos. Then, a commotion broke out in the distance. "Did you hear that?" Samantha asked, her voice trembling. "It sounded close." "All right, everyone, stay behind me," Jack commanded, his instinct to protect overpowering everything else. They huddled closer, the night growing thicker with unease. Suddenly, a figure darted across the park entrance. Jack's pulse quickened. Panic flashed through him. What was that? He breathed, muscles tense. "Maybe it's another officer," the thief whispered, glancing nervously. "Or something worse," Raj added, shivering at the thought, but Jack couldn't think like that. "We can't let fear control us," he said, trying to calm himself and them. "Let us move. If we stay close, we can get through this." The group navigated through the park with bated breaths. Every rustle in the trees felt like a shadow stalking them. The moonlight painted ghostly figures along the path, and each step became heavier as tension built within. Time seemed suspended. They reached a clearing, a moment's respite, but it felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, the drop dizzying. Jack surveyed their surroundings. Huddled together, they looked like a small, fragile refuge against the world. Jack looked to the thief, searching for reassurance. "We're together," he said with conviction. "No one is alone in this." The thief met his eyes, something like relief flickering across their face. "You're right," they said, the strength returning in their voice. Just as a sense of fragile calm settled, headlights suddenly burst into the clearing, piercing the darkness. The thrum of an engine rumbled, drawing closer. Jack's heart sank. "Another car." Emily gasped. "What do we do?" Jack didn't have an answer, the panic surging back up. Did they run? Hide? Or try and blend into the trees? Trembling hands reached for his, and he squeezed back, ready to face whatever came next. The vehicle stopped, doors slamming shut, footsteps crunching toward them. Anxiety twisted in Jack's stomach. Were the officers chasing them? Or was it a chance encounter that could change everything? Time seemed to stretch as they waited, hearts hammering collectively in the silence, breathless and determined. The moment felt electric, and as the footsteps came closer, Jack whispered, "Stay strong." But what awaited them in the shadows could shift their resolve in an instant. The footsteps grew louder, echoing against the trees. Jack could feel his heart pounding in his chest, a beat that felt too loud, too urgent. The air thickened with tension, and he held his breath, determined to stand strong for his friends. Then, from the darkness emerged a figure, silhouetted against the blinding headlights. Jack squinted, trying to make out the person's features. Anxiety knotted his stomach tighter. The shape drew closer, the beam of a flashlight crisscrossing the ground in front of them, illuminating patches of the grass and tree trunks. "Who goes there?" The figure called out, their voice firm but not entirely hostile. Jack stepped defensively in front of Emily and the others. "We're just passing through," he said, trying to keep his voice steady despite the quiver in his throat. "No harm meant." With a flick of the flashlight, the beam fell upon their faces. Jack felt exposed under its scrutiny. The figure was a man in a uniform, a security guard by the looks of it. His face softened slightly as he processed what he was seeing: 5 frightened kids standing in the dark, holding onto each other. "Looks like you're not up to any trouble," the guard said, lowering the flashlight, though his stance remained vigilant. "What are you doing out here this late?" Jack glanced at his friends, who were looking back at him with wide eyes. Emily was shaking slightly, her fingers gripping his arm. Raj's face was pale, and even the thief seemed unnerved. "Just trying to find a safe place," Jack admitted, the words tumbling out. "We got a bit lost." The guard studied them, his brow furrowing. You shouldn't be wandering around like this. The city isn't safe, especially at night. He stepped closer, his demeanor shifting from cautious to sympathetic. What is your name? Jack, he replied, his voice steadier now. And these are my friends Emily, Samantha, Raj, and... He paused, offering a nod to the thief, who stood behind him, still holding their breath. And they're not causing any trouble. We just need to get away for a bit. The guard's expression softened further. I get that. We all have our reasons. But you can't just stay here in the open like targets. What should we do? Emily whispered, barely audible, but Jack felt the weight of her question. I can't let you hang around here. But I can give you a ride to a friend's place a few blocks away, the guard offered, a hint of warmth in his voice. Hope flickered through Jack's chest. Really? Yeah, but listen, the guard said, taking a step back, glancing over his shoulder as if checking for something. You can't tell anyone about this, okay? I'm not supposed to be picking you up like this. Jack exchanged a quick glance with his friends, the collective relief heavy in the air. Deal, he said, hoping his sincerity shone through. The guard stepped back toward his vehicle, gesturing for them to follow. I'll unlock the doors. Just be quick and quiet. As they moved towards the car, Jack felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. Moments like this reminded him that people could still choose kindness, even in the darkest of times. With each step, they felt the distance between themselves and their fears begin to shrink, their spirits lifting just a fraction as hope seeped into their hearts. They piled into the car, the warmth inside wrapping around them like a soft blanket. The guard took a glance in his rearview mirror and smiled softly, the tension easing as the vehicle began to roll away. But amidst their relief, a gnawing question bubbled up inside Jack. What awaited them on the other side? Would they truly find safety, or were they steering toward even greater uncertainty? As the night rolled on, he could feel the undercurrents of fear still lurking in their minds, waiting for the right moment to re-emerge. The headlights of the car cut through the shadows, but darkness was still riding alongside them, and Jack knew they weren't out of danger yet. Hang on, he whispered to Emily and the others, determination flooding through him once more. We're not done fighting. And just as he felt a surge of determination, a sudden flash in the rearview mirror caught his attention, a glimmering badge reflected in the light. The dread washed over him as he realized they weren't alone on this road. Jack's breath caught in his throat. The glint of that badge ignited a fresh wave of panic, swirling within him like a storm. He turned his gaze to the guard, whose face had transformed from warmth into concern. The car felt smaller, the atmosphere thickening like fog in the silence that enveloped them. Just keep calm, the guard said, his voice low, but Jack could hear the tension threading through it. They won't bother you if we keep moving. What do you mean, they? Raj stammered, eyes darting to the window. The others leaned forward, straining to see what lurked outside in the dark. I think I saw another vehicle back there. Just some local security, probably doing a patrol, the guard explained, gripping the wheel tighter. Stick together. You're safe for now. Jack felt his heartbeat slow, but the unease didn't fade. What if they were mistaken for a different kind of trouble? He couldn't shake the thought. He glanced at Emily, who had pressed herself against the window, her eyes wide with fear. She looked small and fragile, like a candle in a storm. Jack, are we really safe? She whispered, her voice trembling. Jack reached for her hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. We're going to be okay. Just trust me, he replied, though he wasn't sure if his own heart believed it. Suddenly, the guard cursed under his breath, jerking the wheel as a flash of headlights appeared in the distance. Jack tensed, every muscle ready for action. They could be caught any moment, holed up in this car, surrounded by uncertainty. All right, just act normal, the guard instructed. If they stop us, just follow my lead. Jack nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settling heavy on his shoulders. He turned to his friends, seeing their anxiety mirrored in their expressions. "We can handle this," he assured them, though doubts crept into his mind. How could 5 kids, lost and scared, possibly handle whatever lay ahead? As they drove closer to the approaching vehicle, the headlights illuminated the guard's face. He looked both determined and terrified. Jack's heart raced, and he realized what was coming. They were no longer just driving away from danger, they were driving straight into the unknown. "Keep your heads down," the guard said quietly, his voice firm. They obeyed, sliding lower in their seats as they passed the convoy that loomed ahead. Suddenly, the vehicle slowed. Jack's stomach twisted with dread as he watched out of the corner of his eye. A flash of badges, uniforms, officials. They were more than just local security. "License and registration," a voice boomed from the other car, an authority that sent chills down Jack's spine. The guard hesitated, a momentary pause that made Jack's heart drop. He turned his head slightly, casting a look back at the rest of them. "Just hold tight," he whispered, the tension palpable. "Don't say a word." He rolled down his window, and as Jack caught a glimpse of the officer scrutinizing them, he realized just how deep the chaos ran. Whatever this was, it wasn't just a matter of getting a ride to safety anymore. The officer's eyes narrowed as Jack felt the air grow heavy with uncertainty. "What are you kids doing out here?" Jack opened his mouth, but nothing came out. His mind raced. Were they really going to have to explain themselves now? Just then, he felt Emily's hand tighten around his, a silent bond of strength amidst the whirlwind. Whatever the outcome, they would face it together. But would they make it out of this alive? In that moment of silence, a question lingered in Jack's mind: would this be the moment everything changed for them, or the moment everything would shatter? Jack's heart thundered in his chest, each pulse a mix of fear and determination as he faced the stern gaze of the officer. He could feel his friends huddled behind him, their collective anxiety charging the air thick with tension. The officer leaned closer, scanning their faces, suspicion flickering in the depths of his eyes. "You boys look a little lost. What are you doing out here at this hour?" Jack swallowed hard, every instinct screaming at him to protect his newfound family, but he knew they needed to tread carefully. We were just heading home after volunteering," he managed to say, praying the lie would hold. The officer's brow furrowed, and Jack could see the wheels turning in his head. At this time? And whereas home? Just then, a blip of clarity illuminated Jack's racing thoughts. This was their moment, their chance to stand united. "We live nearby," he said, planting his feet firmly, ready to support others regardless of how this played out. "We were helping at the community center." He glanced back at the other kids, their eyes wide with fear yet also sparkled with hope at the idea of standing for one another. "Community center?" The officer paused, glancing towards Raj, who chimed in, the courage palpable. "Yeah, we've been organizing food drives for families who really need it. We just finished up our shift." The officer's posture relaxed slightly, and for a brief moment, Jack believed they might just make it through this. Just as a flicker of hope emerged, the lights from the other vehicle grew stronger, a sense of dread hanging in the air. The police officer shifted, placing a hand on his hip, keeping his expression carefully unreadable. "Food drives interesting," he said, his voice a mixture of skepticism and intrigue. A few moments passed, endless silence stretching on, before he nodded, finally seeming to buy their act. "You all need to get home. A night like this, it's not safe. Keep your heads down and be smart out here." Relief washed over Jack, a rush of gratitude spilling over him like sunlight breaking through the clouds. "Thank you, officer. We will." The response emerged naturally, gratitude spilling from Jack's lips as he exchanged quick, hopeful glances with the others. The officer held his gaze a moment longer before waving a hand, signaling for his partner to turn back. "Drive safely." With that, he stepped back, allowing the guard to roll up the window and speed off into the darkness. The tension that had gripped the car evaporated almost instantaneously. Jack felt Emily's hand squeeze his tightly, a shared breath of relief echoing around them. "We're okay, we made it," she whispered, her voice trembling but full of gratitude. "Yeah, we did," Jack affirmed, settling back into his seat, the warmth of camaraderie wrapping around them even in the midst of uncertainty. As they drove away, Jack felt an unexpected wave of resilience wash over him. The experiences of that night had forged an unbreakable bond, a connection that moved stronger than fear ever could. They had risen above their circumstances together, refusing to fall back into despair. Samantha, who had grown quiet, finally spoke up, her voice steady and inspiring. "We need to keep this momentum. We can still push for change. Bigger than ourselves." Jack nodded vigorously, emboldened by their shared journey. "You're right. This isn't just about us anymore. We're all in this together. We need to take it back to the community, inspire others just like us." Each moment they navigated through the night solidified the understanding that they would not walk this path alone. They were a coalition forged in crisis, a family growing from hardship, and their hearts beat as one. As the city blurred past their window, Jack felt an overwhelming sense of purpose suffuse through him. This was the beginning. No longer would they cower in the shadows. They would rise, together, and break the chains of fear and hopelessness. Now, as dawn painted the sky with hues of orange and gold, brightening their world, Jack could see a clearer future ahead. A future where children played freely, neighbors supported each other, and struggles were no longer fought in silence. In that moment, filled with new resolve, he knew the journey was just beginning. They had awakened the strength within themselves, they had ignited a spirit that could change everything, not only for them but for everyone who felt voiceless. "Let us go," he murmured, desire brimming in his soul. "Let us change the world." As the sun rose, bringing light to the new day, they drove into the horizon, hearts intertwined, ready to face whatever came next. This was only the start, and the world awaited their transformation. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Trust me, it really helps. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means everything.